There is plenty of blame to go around when it comes to the rise of Donald Trump. Most of it from those who are unwilling to take their own share of the blame for decades of government mismanagement and fraud. One group catching plenty of heat are those dastardly millennials, the ones still hunkered down in their parents' basement, wanting everything for free because they've never worked a real day in their life. Well, that is the perception, of course, so now let's go to reality. Plenty more. Let's kick out tonight with the nationally syndicated radio talker and founder of the Epic content platform, EpicTimes.com, who is in hiding, obviously, right now because he doesn't want Donald Trump to know where he is. Jerry Doyle joins us once again.
Hey, Ed, how are you?
I'm good, Jerry. We're going to talk about Trump in a little bit here, but on the Epic Times platform, the problem with pandering to millennials, and it specifically talks about Bernie Sanders banking on people who don't vote. Here's my first question. Millennials going for a guy like Bernie Sanders. Wait a minute, he's an old white guy. Wouldn't they be going for somebody more along the lines of their own generation?
Yeah, but he's channeling Martin Luther King Jr. Free at last, thank God everything in America is free at last. You know, so if you're a generation that I think has been mislabeled as the generation of the path of, of least obstruction, I think there's a lot to be garnered from the millennials as far as their enthusiasm and their hope for the future. I think they want to get to where most people want to get to. I just think that they've kind of gotten behind a guy who says you're just going to get it because you are, because you're here, because you breathe. But, you know, it's easy to get excited on Twitter. It's easy to get excited on Facebook and Instagram. It's a different thing to get into a car and actually go and vote. So I'm not so sure that the millennial enthusiasm for Sanders is going to translate and show up at the ballot box.
Jerry, if they can ever do it on their phones by hitting an app, we are in deep kimchi, my friend. Let's talk.
But again, just to the point of the millennials, that, you know, there seems to be these generations that are pitting themselves against each other. The millennials are blaming the boomers. The boomers are saying that the millennials are just an entitlement generation. But I think what we really need to do is to take a look at the boomers, at the Gen Xers, at the millennials, at the iGen, which is the younger generation than the millennials, and figure out how we're all rowing in the same direction.
Let's talk about blame then. I'm so glad you brought up the word blame because it's being bandied about so much here this week, and it specifically comes down to Donald Trump. I've been talking about it on the show all week. People saying, you're to blame for Trump, you're to blame for Trump. Wait a minute. Everybody's to blame for Trump, Jerry. They've made decisions for 20 years that basically led them to Donald Trump. It is the electorate themselves that has the responsibility for the blame, and nobody wants to take their responsibility.
Yeah, it's Claude Rains in Casablanca. I'm shocked to find out there's gambling going on in this institution. You're winning, sir. Why, thank you. You know, I call it the beast, the system, the status quo, the gatekeepers of the status quo. They are just the opposite of the promise keepers. They are the promise breakers. And at some point, the waves of reality crash on the beach of perception, and a lot of people are just saying, wait a minute. I hear these people out there going, I'm going to fight for you. I wake up every day thinking about you, which creeps me out because I want to take a shower after Hillary Clinton says it. You know, if they worked 1% as hard as they do to get their jobs, doing their jobs, we would be in a much better position than we're in today. I look at how they're crisscrossing the country, jets, hotels, campaign events, online interviews, TV interviews, radio interviews. They're working really hard, supposedly for me, but when I take a look at the realities of what they have all given me, us, over the last couple of decades, not so much.
Working hard, taking our money, living off the public dole. 30 seconds we have left here. Mitt Romney came out today, scathing critique of Donald Trump. He got everything right, the critics would say, basically about Trump. But is it just, here we go, too little, too late, and he's too establishment, or could he maybe make a difference here?
Where was this Mitt Romney in 2012?
I'm so glad you said that.
Where was this Mitt Romney? This aggressive, this focused, this polished, this determined for an outcome? But what I heard today from Mitt Romney, with all the ways he was throwing Trump under the bus, he wasn't talking to the Trump supporters, 35–40% of the Republican electorate. He actually sent them in the other direction. His speech today was to the establishment. It was to the beast. It was to the mega donors. And anyone but Trump was the message. Well, that message, if you really believed what you say today about Trump, maybe you shouldn't have been honored and pleased to seek out Trump's endorsement for your failed campaign in 2012.
And maybe you shouldn't have been part of the beast so much for the last 20 years. It might have made a difference as well. Remind everybody, go to EpicTimes.com. Check it out. Jerry Doyle, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for joining us. Rock on, true believers. See you tomorrow night, right back here on The Hard Line.